When a narcissist gets drunk with an empath, they end up doing this. Have you ever noticed how people reveal their true truths when they're under the influence? How masks slip, walls come down, and hidden truths begin to surface? If you've had any kind of relationship with a narcissist, romantic, familial, or professional, you know how carefully they curate their image, how charming they appear in public, how effortlessly they win people over. But what happens when they get drunk and they find themselves in the presence of an empath? Something strange occurs. Not just drunken behavior, not just lowered inhibitions. No. They start revealing things they wouldn't say sober. They let slip secrets they never meant to share. They expose vulnerabilities they spend years hiding. And if you're ready to uncover what really happens when a narcissist gets drunk with an empath, and why it leads to emotional chaos, unexpected confessions, and even self-destruction, then keep watching, because today, we're diving deep into the psychology behind this powerful dynamic. And if this resonates with your own experiences, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content on emotional healing, personality disorders, and reclaiming your life after toxic relationships. Let's get started. Let's begin by addressing something most people misunderstand. Empaths are not just emotionally sensitive. They are highly intuitive. They feel energy in ways others can barely comprehend. And when a narcissist drinks alcohol, his defenses weaken, his mask slips, his charm fades, and suddenly, he's not the confident, charismatic person everyone thinks he is. He becomes raw, honest, revealing, and the empath sees through him completely. Because while others might miss the subtle cracks in his armor, the empath feels them. He senses the fear beneath the bravado, the emptiness behind the laughter, the pain hiding in every joke. And when the narcissist lets his guard down, especially under the influence, he begins doing things he would never do while sober, like confessing his deepest insecurities, like admitting that he feels empty inside, like asking questions he usually avoids at all costs. And in those moments, the empath realizes something shocking. The real narcissist isn't the one who controls people. It's the one who's terrified of being seen. Now, let's talk about the first reason this situation becomes so revealing. Drunkenness strips away the narcissist's false identity. Narcissists live behind a carefully curated image. Sober, they project confidence, strength, superiority. But under the influence, that image begins to crack. They become less guarded, less calculating, less manipulative. And in the presence of an empath, an individual who gives unconditional energy, listens deeply, and radiates compassion, they often lower their barriers completely. Why? Because they sense safety. They sense understanding. They sense someone who won't judge them. Even though they act like they don't care about anyone, in reality, they crave genuine connection, even if they don't know how to sustain it. So, when the empath is there, listening without judgment, the narcissist begins to spill things he would never admit otherwise. And that confession is not a sign of growth. It's a sign of vulnerability, and vulnerability is dangerous for both of them. Second, the narcissist often tries to manipulate the empath using guilt or pity. Drunk narcissists rarely cry over their victims, but they do cry over themselves. They tell stories about their childhood, about how they were mistreated, about how no one understands them, about how hard life has been. And because empaths are wired to feel compassion, they listen, they absorb, they try to help. That's exactly what the narcissist wants. Because once he gains sympathy, he begins rewriting the narrative. Suddenly he wasn't the one who hurt you. You were the one who misunderstood him, who abandoned him, who made him feel worse. And in the haze of alcohol, the empath finds herself caught between truth and manipulation again. Because she knows what he did when he was sober. But now, she hears him beg for understanding. And that moment of emotional confusion can be enough to pull her back into the cycle, even if only for a little while. Third, the narcissist often rewrites history when drunk, especially regarding the empath. One of the most disturbing patterns in narcissistic behavior is their tendency to rewrite the past. And when they're intoxicated, this tendency intensifies. They may say things like, I didn't mean to hurt you. You were the best thing that ever happened to me. I miss the way you used to make me feel. These words sound like apologies, like admissions of wrongdoing, like signs of change. But here's the catch. They're not. They're performances. They're attempts to regain control by making the empath believe she still matters to him. And because empaths give love freely, they often fall for these drunken confessions. They think maybe he's finally changing, but in reality, he's just reaching for supply. And once he sobers up, he'll deny everything he said. Fourth, the empath unknowingly becomes the narcissist's emotional dumping ground. Empaths are natural healers. They absorb pain, they offer comfort, they try to fix broken people, even when logic tells them not to. And when a narcissist gets drunk around an empath, he instinctively knows he can unload his emotional burden onto her. He talks about his failures, his fears, his loneliness, and because the empath listens, because she cares, she gives him the attention he craves. But here's the twist. The narcissist doesn't want real healing. He wants temporary relief. Once he feels better, he discards the empath again, just like always. And that leaves the empath feeling used again, because she gave her heart to someone who never truly opened his own. And now, she's left wondering whether his drunken honesty was real or just another lie. Fifth, the narcissist often reveals his deepest insecurities without realizing it. Despite their bravado, narcissists are deeply insecure. Underneath the charm, the arrogance, and the grandiosity lies a wounded child afraid of being exposed. And when they're drunk, those wounds begin to bleed. They may say things like, "Everyone uses me. I feel like I'm losing control. Sometimes I wonder if anyone really loves me." These statements may seem like cries for help, and in a way they are. But here's the problem. Narcissists rarely seek real help. They seek reassurance, validation, admiration. So when the empath responds with empathy, she unknowingly feeds his ego again. She comforts him. She validates his pain. She tries to soothe him. And the next morning, he acts like nothing happened, because he doesn't want healing. He wants attention. And he got it. Sixth, the narcissist often tests the empath's loyalty during these drunken moments. Narcissists thrive on control. Even when drunk, they test boundaries. They push limits. They look for reactions. And when they're with an empath, someone who gives second chances, who offers forgiveness, who tries to understand, they take full advantage. They may say cruel things, make inappropriate jokes, accuse the empath of misunderstanding them, all to see how far she will go, whether she will walk away, whether she will still accept them despite their worst behavior. And when she does, when she stays, listens and tries to calm him down, they store that information. Because now they know they can return to that place of emotional safety whenever they need it, even if they pretend to forget. Seventh, the empath often ends up walking away more confused than before. After a night of drunken conversations, misplaced trust, and emotional revelations, the empath is left with more questions than answers. Did he really mean what he said? Was that the real him showing through? Or was it just another performance designed to keep her close? And that uncertainty is one of the most damaging parts of the experience, because the empath starts questioning herself again. She wonders if she misjudged him, if maybe he's not as bad as she thought, if perhaps there's hope after all. And in doing so, she opens the door for the narcissist to pull her back in, because he knows she listened. He knows she cared. He knows she still feels something. And that knowledge gives him power. Even if he's drunk, even if he's vulnerable, even if he's breaking down, he still walks away knowing he affected her. And that's all he needs. Eighth, the narcissist often regrets his honesty the next day and lashes out. The morning after a drunken conversation with an empath, many narcissists panic because they revealed too much. They admitted weakness, vulnerability, fear. And for someone who spends his life projecting strength, that exposure is unbearable. So what does he do? He denies everything. He calls the empath unstable, manipulative, too sensitive. He accuses her of twisting his words, of taking advantage of him, of exploiting his vulnerability. And suddenly the tables turn. The empath, who offered compassion, becomes the villain, because the narcissist cannot tolerate being seen, especially not by someone who truly understood him. Ninth, the empath often becomes the keeper of the narcissist's darkest secrets, because when a narcissist gets drunk with an empath, he shares things he would never tell anyone else. He admits to betrayals, to lies, to moments of shame, and because the empath is wired to hold space for others, she keeps those secrets even if they haunt her. But here's the truth. Narcissists hate having their secrets held by others, especially secrets that expose them. So later, when they feel threatened, they try to silence the empath. They gaslight her. They accuse her of betrayal. They spread rumors, because they can't afford to have someone know their truth. And the deeper the drunk conversation went, the more aggressively they try to erase it. Because to a narcissist, vulnerability is a crime, and the empath becomes the witness. 10th, the narcissist often uses the drunk moment as a setup for future manipulation. A narcissist doesn't waste anything, not even drunken vulnerability. He remembers what he said, what she responded to, what emotions surfaced, and later he uses those moments to reel her back in. He may reference something he told her while drunk, only to twist it. He may bring up a painful memory she shared, only to use it against her. He may claim she betrayed his trust, despite being the one who broke it first. Because to a narcissist, drunken honesty isn't about healing. It's about gathering new tools for future manipulation. And the empath, who tried to offer support, suddenly finds herself trapped in another game. Because now he has leverage, and he's not afraid to use it. 11th, the empath often walks away feeling emotionally drained, even if nothing physical happened. Being around a narcissist is exhausting. Being around a drunk narcissist is even worse, because instead of offering real connection, the experience becomes a roller coaster of emotional highs and lows. One moment, the empath feels hopeful, heard, connected. The next, she feels used, confused, betrayed, and that emotional whiplash leaves its mark. Because even when the narcissist seems honest, he's still performing, still manipulating, still testing, and the empath, who gave her energy freely, ends up paying the price. Because now, she carries his pain, his secrets, his lies, and she has no one to share it with. Because telling others what happened only makes her look unstable. And that's exactly what the narcissist wants. 12th, the narcissist often returns to the empath after getting drunk, hoping to repeat the interaction. Many narcissists remember the rare moments when someone actually listened to them, when someone didn't challenge them, when someone gave them the emotional fuel they needed. And when they feel low, lonely, or desperate for validation, they often reach for the empath again, because she was the last person who gave them real emotional presence, even if unintentionally. So they call her late at night, text her while drunk, show up uninvited, and they replay the same old lines. Can we talk? You're the only one who understands me. I just wanted to hear your voice. And if the empath is still emotionally connected, even from afar, she may respond. She may answer the call, read the message, and that small reaction is all the narcissist needs, because now he has access again, and he'll use it however he can. 13th, the empath often walks away with more clarity, but also more pain. After a night spent listening to a narcissist pour out his soul while under the influence, the empath often wakes up with a new realization. She saw the real man behind the mask, the fragile soul beneath the charm, and now she carries that knowledge like a wound, because she understands the depth of his pain and the shallowness of his love. He asked for comfort, for understanding, for connection, but the moment he sobers up, he forgets everything he said. And that forgetting, that rejection, that denial, it hurts more than the original abuse, because now, the empath knows she gave her heart to someone who will never give his in return. And that knowledge changes everything. 14th, the empath often becomes the silent witness to the narcissist's unraveling. When a narcissist gets drunk with an empath, he doesn't realize he's giving her a glimpse into his true nature. He shows her his desperation, his loneliness, his need to be loved, even if he doesn't know how to receive it. And once she sees that, she begins to understand that his manipulation wasn't about power. It was about survival. Because narcissists don't know how to connect in healthy ways. They don't know how to ask for help. They don't know how to show vulnerability without shame. So they use intoxication as a cover, as an excuse, as a way to express things they're too scared to say sober. And the empath, who gave them a safe space, becomes the keeper of that truth. And once she holds that truth, she can never fully return to the illusion, because now she saw the real man behind the mask, and she never wants to meet him again. 15th, the empath often ends up protecting the narcissist's secret, even when she shouldn't. After witnessing a narcissist drunken breakdown, many empaths struggle with what to do next. They may feel compelled to keep his secrets, to protect him, to explain his behavior to others, because they know what he hides. They heard it firsthand. They felt his pain. But here's the danger. Empaths often mistake drunken vulnerability for real change. They think, maybe he's not so bad. Maybe he just needs someone to understand him. But the truth is, the narcissist doesn't want understanding. He wants admiration. He wants worship. He wants supply. And if he can't get that from the empath, he'll move on to someone else. And he'll leave her with nothing but the burden of knowing what he really is. And that knowledge is heavy. Because now, she's not just carrying her own pain, she's carrying his truth. And that's a weight no one should carry alone. 16th, the empath often walks away realizing she gave more than she received. After a night of drunken confessions, emotional revelations, and misguided attempts at connection, the empath often wakes up with a sinking feeling. She gave him her time, her attention, her compassion. And what did she get in return? More manipulation? More lies? More confusion? Because the narcissist didn't open up to heal. He opened up to feed himself. He didn't share his pain to grow. He shared it to gain sympathy, to pull her back in, to remind her that he still matters to her. And if she falls for it, she loses more than just peace. She loses clarity. She loses trust in herself. And she walks back into the darkness, knowing full well how dangerous it is. And that's the most heartbreaking part of all. Because the empath knew better. Yet she gave him another chance. And now, she has to learn the lesson all over again. That drunken vulnerability is not transformation. It's just another tactic, another tool, another way to keep her hooked. 17th, the empath often walks away realizing she was never truly seen. In the moment, when the narcissist was drunk and confessing his fears, she may have felt seen, understood, important. But the next morning, when he ignores her, blocks her, or pretends nothing happened, she realizes the truth. She was never the focus. She was just the audience. And once he finished his performance, he erased her from the stage. Because to a narcissist, sharing vulnerability isn't about intimacy, it's about control. And the moment he realized she saw him for who he really was, he panicked. And he walked away, leaving her with the question, was I ever really important to him? Or was I just another person to play with until he felt strong again? 18th, the empath often becomes the person the narcissist fears most. Because unlike other people who dismiss his drunken ramblings, the empath remembers them. She heard him admit his loneliness, his fear, his emptiness, and that makes her dangerous to him, because she now holds the truth he tried so hard to bury. And once a narcissist knows someone has seen through him, even briefly, he begins distancing himself. He cuts her off. He ghosts her. He spreads lies about her, because he can't risk her exposing him. And the deeper the drunk conversation went, the harder he works to erase it. Because the empath became a mirror he couldn't stand to look at. She showed him his reflection, and he hated what he saw. 19. The empath often becomes the catalyst for the narcissist's internal crisis. When a narcissist is forced to face someone who saw him at his weakest, it creates a storm inside him. He begins questioning everything. Did she really understand him? Did she pity him? Did she see through him? And worst of all, does she still care? Because Narcissists thrive on attention, on admiration, on emotional dominance. And when the empath walks away with quiet dignity, when she stops answering, stops reacting, stops giving him energy, he begins to feel powerless. Because now, he knows someone saw him at his lowest, and she chose to walk away anyway. And that rejection is more devastating than any argument could ever be, because it proves that even in his most vulnerable state, he wasn't worthy of her love. And that truth haunts him. Finally, let's talk about what comes next for the empath. Because surviving a drunken encounter with a narcissist is not the end of the journey. It's the beginning of a deeper awakening. She begins to understand that vulnerability is not a sign of growth, that drunken honesty is not real change, that compassion given to the wrong person is not wasted. It's simply redirected. And now she channels that energy into her own healing. She writes, she speaks, she warns others, and slowly, she builds a life that no longer includes the narcissist, because she finally learns the most powerful truth of all. She was never the one who needed fixing. He was, and he refused to do the work. Thank you for watching. If you found value in today's video, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing this content with others who might benefit from understanding the mind of a narcissist and the emotional traps they set even when they're under the influence. Remember, you are not alone, you are not crazy, and you are not to blame. You are strong, you are wise, and you are worthy of a life filled with love, peace, and authenticity. Keep going, keep growing, keep shining, because the world needs your light, and you are finally free to give it.